To understand the global economy, you first have to understand the scale of the machinery that moves it. Every year, roughly 11 billion tons of goods are transported by sea. That's about 1.5 tons for every person on Earth. To move this mountain of cargo, the industry relies on the big three alliances: Gemini Cooperation, Ocean Alliance, and Premier Alliance. These aren't just companies, they are a massive group of cooperations that control over 80% of the total global container capacity. Companies like MSC command a fleet with a capacity of over 5.6 million TEUs. Maersk, the Danish Titan, operates in 130 countries. For decades, the logic was simple, that these giants owned the pipes of global trade. If they wanted the price of shipping to go up, they simply constricted the pipes. If they wanted more market share, they opened them. But in the last decade, a quiet transformation has occurred. The physical ships, that is, the steel, the oil, and the sailors, have become secondary to a single weekly PDF update published in Shanghai. In the early 2000s, shipping was a black box industry. If you were a mid-sized electronics company in Ohio wanting to ship components from Ningbo, you had to call a freight forwarder who called a carrier who gave you a quote based on, well, whatever they felt like that day. There was no market price. There was only your price. That changed in 2009 with the formalization of the Shanghai Containerized Freight Index, or SCFI. Managed by the Shanghai Shipping Exchange, the SCFI was designed to bring transparency to the world's busiest export hub. It doesn't track every route on Earth, it tracks 13 specific routes originating from Shanghai to major global destinations like Antwerp, Rotterdam, Los Angeles, and Santos. Every Friday at 3 p.m. Beijing time, the exchange publishes the index. It aggregates data from 15 to 30 different panelist members, a mix of carriers and freight forwarders. On the surface, it's just a weighted average. But because Shanghai is the world's largest container port, handling over 47 million TEUs annually, its local prices became the North Star for the rest of the planet. To understand why the SCFI became so powerful, we have to look at the math of 2021. That was the year that broke the shipping industry's brain. Before the pandemic, the cost to send a 40-foot container from China to the US West Coast was remarkably stable, hovering between $1,200 and $2,000. It was a low-margin, boring business. Then the world stopped, and then it restarted all at once. By September 2021, the SCFI hit a record high of over 5,000 points. But the spot rates, the price you pay for immediate loading, were even crazier. While the index was high, the actual all-in prices, including premium surcharges to actually get your box on a ship, peaked at nearly $20,000 per container on the Trans-Pacific route. This created a massive windfall. In 2021 and 2022, the container shipping industry earned an estimated $500 billion in operating profit. To put that in perspective, that is more than the industry had made in the entire previous decade combined. But here's where the SCFI's power manifested. During the boom, the index wasn't just recording the high prices, it was validating them. When a carrier told a retailer like Home Depot that their rate was doubling, they didn't just say, "Trust us." They pointed to the SCFI. The index provided the social proof needed to sustain record-breaking inflation. So why does one index have so much sway? It's because shipping has a commodity problem. In economics, a commodity is a good where there is no qualitative difference between one producer and another. Gold is gold. Oil is oil. And for a logistics manager, a slot on a ship is just a slot on a ship. If you ship a container of sneakers on a CMGC vessel or an evergreen vessel, the sneakers don't arrive better or faster in any meaningful way. They both use the same ports, the same cranes, and often even the same ships, thanks to alliance sharing. When a product is a commodity, the only thing that matters is price. And when price is the only variable, the market needs a price discovery mechanism. The SCFI became that mechanism. Today, roughly 50 to 60% of all long-term shipping contracts are now index-linked. This means a company like IKEA doesn't sign a contract for $2,000 per container. Instead, they sign a contract that says, "We will pay the SCFI average plus 5%. This has a profound effect on the industry. It means the shipping lines have effectively surrendered their pricing power to the math of the index. They no longer set the price, they just react to the number on the screen. The dangerous part of a benchmark isn't the data, it's the behavior it triggers. This is what economists call reflexivity. In a normal market, if prices go up, demand should go down. But in shipping, when the SCFI starts to climb, the opposite happens. Importers see the index rising and panic. They think, if I don't book my Christmas inventory now, the price will be $2,000 higher next week. This leads to front-loading of cargo. Everyone rushes to the ports at once, which creates congestion. Congestion reduces the number of available ships. Fewer ships means higher prices. Higher prices make the SCFI go up again. The index isn't just measuring the market, it's an accelerant. The reverse is also true. In 2023, as the world cooled down, the SCFI began a long, painful slide. By the end of the year, it had dropped over 80% from its peak. As it fell, the psychology of the market shifted. Procurement officers who were begging for space a year ago now had the upper hand. They used the SCFI as a weapon in negotiations. If a carrier tried to hold rates at $2,000, the customer would point to the SCFI sitting at $900 and say, "The market says you're overcharging. Lower it or we go to your competitor." If you thought the influence ended at the dock, you'd be wrong. The SCFI has given birth to an entire financial ecosystem called container freight derivatives. In the past, if you wanted to make money in shipping, you had to buy a ship. Today, you just need a brokerage account. Through forward freight agreements, hedge funds and speculators can bet on the future value of the SCFI. In 2021, the trading volume of these derivatives exploded. Companies began hedging their exposure. A toy manufacturer might buy a long position on the SCFI so that if shipping prices go up, their investment profits cover their increased shipping costs. But this means that the price of moving your goods is now being influenced by people who have never seen a container in their lives. The SCFI has turned the ocean into a casino. When billions of dollars are betting on where an index will go, the physical reality of the ships becomes almost secondary to the paper market. Shipping lines aren't completely helpless either, but their tools have changed. They can't ignore the SCFI, so they try to manipulate the supply that feeds it. The primary tool is the blank sailing. A blank sailing is when a carrier cancels a scheduled port call or an entire voyage. If the SCFI is falling too fast, the alliances will blank 15 to 20% of their sailings on a specific route. By removing the ships, they create an artificial shortage of space, hoping to stop the index from sliding. In late 2023, carriers blanked dozens of sailings on the Asia-Europe route to try and keep the SCFI above the break-even point, which is for many large vessels is around $1,500 to $1,800 per TEU. But even this is a reaction to the index. The carriers are no longer leading the price. They are frantically trying to keep up with the index. The power of the benchmark was proven again in early 2024 during the Red Sea crisis. As Houthi attacks forced ships to divert around the Cape of Good Hope, the physical cost of shipping rose. Ships had to travel 3,500 extra miles, adding 10 days to the journey and burning millions of dollars in extra fuel. But the price of shipping didn't just rise by the cost of the fuel, it exploded. The SCFI jumped instantly, nearly doubling in a matter of weeks. The index didn't wait for the fuel bills to come in, it reacted to the perception of risk. Because everyone, from insurance companies to retail giants, was watching the same number every Friday, the price increase became a global reality overnight. The economy reacted to the data before the ships even reached their destination. Supporters of the SCFI argue it has made the world better. Transparency is generally good for markets. It prevents small companies from being bullied by giant carriers and gives everyone a baseline for fair value. But transparency has a dark side, which is standardization. When every player in an industry looks at the exact same number every Friday, the industry loses its diversity. It creates a herd mentality. If the index says prices are falling, everyone stops buying. If it says they are rising, everyone panics. It has also weakened the relationship between carriers and their customers. Shipping used to be about service. Who has the best tracking? Who is the most reliable? Who has the best port terminal? But when everything is indexed to a single number, those differences get flattened. What do you think about this? Tell us in the comment below. Thanks for watching and see you in next video.